And we're back for another episode. In this episode, we're going to be carrying on the 6.1 main story in Final Fantasy XIV. And as always, hello from Mithrie. So, we are here in Radzahan at 4-9, and we need to talk to the Veteran Radiant. And the quest is called Bridging the Rift. The Veteran Radiant wishes to share his gratitude. Thank you for putting forth Kazal's name. Those whose lives he enriched will take comfort in seeing his legacy honored. You will forgive me for not speaking sooner, but I bear a message from Archon Y'shtola. She asks that you meet her at the High Crucible at your earliest convenience. Understood, thank you. Y'shtola must have finished her study at the Void Gate. Shall we hear what she has to say then? I will go with you. I thought the Satrap would be too busy setting up the foundation. My clerks have been the well-oiled cogs of this administration since before Adwan assumed the office. They understand what needs to be done. And I am curious to learn what conclusions your Archon has reached concerning the gate's unique construction. As you wish, allow me to lead the way, Your Excellency. Alright, so let's go to the High Crucible. Okay, we caught up with Y'shtola, so let's talk to her.
Right, here we all are.
You discovered something new?
I took a closer look at that device. I was able to determine how it keeps the Void Gate sealed, but not how it might instead be employed to expand the opening. For that, I would need to reference the technique developed by Vritra's alchemists, no records of which appear to have survived the intervening years.
We know this, so why have you sent for us? Have you learned aught of value or not?
Patience, good sir. One must introduce the subject before launching into specifics. From what we understand, travel between worlds is accomplished by passing through the nebulous rift which exists between them. Picture, if you will, the moment you were called to the first. You touched a focus of some kind to help the Exarch pinpoint your location. His summoning spell then channeled the energies of the Crystal Tower to begin your journey to his world. The magics tore a hole in the wall separating source and shard, and cast you into the intervening nothingness. In that place, the laws of nature hold no sway. Yet even through this realm of temporal and spatial instability, you were borne safely to your destination in the first. The feat that guided you across such an unimaginable distance, both physical and metaphorical, was nothing short of a miracle.
Then what of the many voids sent found in the source? Who guides them here, and how?
An excellent question. Though there are several methods by which the Void's denizens might intrude upon our world, the rituals of summoning are the most typical. For example, let us consider the Gargoyle, a creature of middling power. To call upon such an entity, the prospective summoner must force open a void gate. The portal lasts but a moment and is relatively small, allowing only an imp or other lesser being to squeeze through with their physical body intact. Our more powerful gargoyle, however, is too large for that. Creating a gate big enough for him would require vast amounts of energy, far beyond the reserves of any one mortal practitioner. Instead, 'tis far more common to bring over only the entity's soul. We had a taste of that ourselves when a certain exarch dragged us to the first. And just as our bodies remained in our world, the Void Sense physical form is left behind in the 13th. Once at its destination, the summoned soul is granted a temporary shell to inhabit. In the gargoyle's case, a stone effigy has proven a suitable vessel.
Wait. You said that Voidsent must be called here deliberately by someone in the source, reeled in like a fisherman with his catch.
Exactly. For a being to navigate the chaos of the rift, with or without form, there must needs be a guiding agent on the other side.
When the hordes poured forth from Alag's Great Gate, it was the technologists who drew them through. Though to my knowledge, planar fissures are in essence natural passages between our world and the void, which require no such guidance to traverse. Why is only the boundary between the source and the 13th so fragile? So much so that it often tears open of its own accord.
I believe solving that mystery is key to understanding travel between the source and its reflections.
And how do you intend to get your answers?
No. The danger is too great.
Perhaps. But what some call danger, others think of as adventure.
Were you not listening to my tale? Never mind that the means to expand the gate has been lost to the ages. Even could you force the portal wide enough, you would be greeted by an army of murderous horrors the very instant you step through.
I assure you I was most attentive, and I agree that to go alone would be certain death. But if I were to bring along one who has already braved the 13th, and humbled the cloud of darkness, well, I imagine my chances would be much improved.
I'm in.
I had a feeling you might say that. Once again, I put my life in your ever-reliable hands. That said, as much as I would like to march straight back to the Void Gate, there is the small matter of being unable to open it without the Satrap's personal authority.
Yeah. Cough, hint, wink.
As I've said before, I will grant you and yours any boon you choose to name, provided it does not endanger my people.
You have my word that we will take every precaution. Not a single void scent will be allowed to threaten Radzat-Han, assuming we manage to expand the portal in the first place.
You have a plan.
Like, were you not
Actually,
listening for the last
I had
hour?
hoped you might help us with that. I presume the alchemists you retained supplied you with some explanation of their methodology.
That they did. House Daimir was overseeing the project.
Daimir. Ah, yes. The family associated with the great work.
I did not fully comprehend the theory, but their research began with a void scent which had slipped through the fissure. After a thorough examination, they created an arcane simulacrum possessed of similar qualities. A man-made void scent, if you will. It was apparently indispensable in their efforts to enlarge the gate.
A man-made void scent?
Yes. Being great admirers of the Archons, House Daimir submitted detailed notes to Charlene's official committee. They expected praise and accolades for their simulacrum, and were thus devastated to be informed that their work had been classified as prohibited material.
If that's true, then those notes might still be stored in a forbidden archive somewhere. Not Google, of course, since that library had yet to be built. Which leaves us with...
With the restricted section of Nom Nom.
Yes, it may very well hold a copy. In which case, I say we head directly to Charlene.
Fair enough.
Unless you anticipate needing help to reach the high shelves. I see myself being of little use. Go on ahead. I still need to find Mirad and tell him about the Khalzal Foundation.
Let us be on our way as well.
They are resolved to venture into the void. Do I sit idly by?
You can help if you like. Oh. Speak with Yestola at Shardian. Alright, let's catch up with her. Okay, we caught up with Yestola, so let's talk to her. So, if we're to enter Nominon's restricted archives with a minimum fuss, then we must secure the permission of the Forum. First, however, shall we need to enlist the cooperation of a member of the Brooch, the matter on our behalf? Who do you think might be inclined to assist us? No one springs to mind? What of Scholar Monty Chung? He did come to Graha's defense during the inquiry, after all. I know, I'm the best at pronouncing names. Tisel, let us head to Phenomenon and see if he's willing to help us once more. He's now accompanying you? Don't let her fall behind, basically. Okay. Let's go. I don't know if we're going the right way. I know, we have to go all the way over there. Okay, wrong building. I wonder if, like, if she can actually take Aetherites or Aethernets. Let's see. Let's see if we can take the 8th net here. Okay, she can't. Good. Discuss the studium. So I apprenticed to Master Matoya at the age of 7 and laboured under her tutelage for a full decade. I never had the chance to attend the studium. Neither did Fancred, as I recall. Soon after Master Louisoix took him in off the streets, he was put in the care of another Archon. His was a rigorous and practical education in the arts of espionage and survival. I sometimes wonder what my life might have been like had I pursued studies here instead. See you at the last stand after a day of lectures. Oh, that does sound lovely. Afternoons with friends spent sipping tea and debating theories. Still, I wouldn't give up my time with Master Matoya for the world. The dank cave I studied in was about as far from the bright, airy halls of the academia as one could get, but it was a wondrous magical childhood nonetheless. Cool. Alright, let's go. It seems like he's in... lecture room. Maybe wrong one. There he is. I could approach better. I'm late for class. But at least I'm here. Ah, visitors, and quite esteemed ones at that. What may I do for you? Pray forgive the intrusion, scholar, but we were hoping you might help us secure permission to enter Nominon's restricted archives. No furtive forays into the stacks this time, eh? I applaud this newfound sense of priority. Yeah, in all this wild world of comparative serenity, what so compels you to disturb a vault of forbidden wisdom? Content. Lots of content. People might subscribe if there's a lot of content. Fascinating. I had no idea such a technique existed. I would have been surprised if you had. If my assumption is correct, the research left behind by House Daemir has lain dormant in Charlian's archives for many centuries. And if you unearth this research, what then? Surely you don't intend to cross over into the void. That is in fact precisely what we intend. To what end, pray tell? To develop a method of traversing the rift, for one, that I might keep my word to a distant friend. As sentiment aside, I have journeyed to the end of existence. I have heard, felt, and thought endlessly about the truth of our world and the echo of its future, and yet I want to understand everything, to unravel it all down to its last secret. What scholar worthy of the name wouldn't force open a void gate or two if a grand revelation was the promised reward? Marvellous. An audacious proposal worthy of Master Matoya herself. And after hearing the whys and the whereofs, I, for one, do not believe you would use our knowledge for ill. I see no reason not to present your request to the foreign's consideration. Although your petition would be better received if you also had the support of another well-placed acquaintance. Why, Master Fortuno, of course. He can hardly ignore an earnest request from his dear children's most treasured comrades. I was hesitant to approach him directly, but there is no denying that having Master Fortuno on our side would tip the balance in our favour. Very well. We will pay a visit to the Leveler estate and plead our case. One last thing before you go. I will consider it a personal favour if you might share with me the discoveries you make in the void. My appetite for knowledge is every bit as insatiable as yours, I'd wager. So if you could see your way to indulging an old man's curiosity... Of course, Skolok, we will be sure to pass on any revelations. Okay. While Y'shtola is still accompanying us, let's head now to the Leveler estate. Let's sprint Aruni. But thankfully, we know that she can go through the Aethernet crystals, so we can just take an Aethernet straight there. So there's an Aethernet shard right here. So let's go here. Leveler estate. Okay, let's talk to the House Leveler Butler. Ah, Mistress Mithrie, Mistress Y'shtola, how may I be of service? We've come to speak with Master Fortunal. Is he home by any chance? Yes, the Master is in his residence. I shall inform him that he has guests. Oh well, Amelians would invite you inside for tea, but I assume this is not a social visit. You have some matter of import to discuss? Then pray proceed. You have my full attention. You want to read books, innit? Well, I suppose I should praise you for following the proper protocols this time around. Skolog Montichenang expressed much of the same sentiment. I assure you that we'll not attempt to circumvent the Forum's authority again, unless it is absolutely necessary, of course. Of course. You do understand that the restricted archives are restricted for good reason, yes? If no pressing needs exist, then why risk the consequences of employing this forbidden knowledge? For a brother who misses his sister, he was his guardian and his friend, a selfless hero who crossed the rift between worlds to save her homeland from horror and suffering. But the brother has given up on force of reunion. He spends his efforts elsewhere, watching over a people, yet healing from the flames of the final days, loyal to his duty while betraying the longing in his heart. Are they talking about Thancred and Rin? It's no vital mission, perhaps, reuniting these siblings, but it feels a worthy cause to pursue all the same. As one who feared losing his own loved ones and spent years in research to prevent it, surely you appreciate how painful such a separation must be. Reflections are still very much a mystery to us. Offering to share your experiences in the first could constitute a fair exchange for our cooperation. Do not celebrate just yet. The Forum must still be convinced. I will add your request to the list of today's deliberations and deliver the decision to you at the Baldassian Annex. Cool. Alright. So now we have to go back to the Annex. Again, we should be able to use an Aethernet shard to get straight there. Let's go. Okay, so let's speak to Y'shtola. So, what did the Forum decide? To put it bluntly, Master Matoya has burned some bridges here in Shardian. and salt the earth for good measure. When it became clear that her student was the petitioner in question, well, no few members voiced discontent. Then the chamber was reminded, in no uncertain terms, I might add, of the incredible debt we owe to you and your companions. So the answer is no, you can't read the books. That served to silence the grumbles and stiffen a few spines, and it was agreed that allowing you entry to the archives was the least we could do in return. That is wonderful news. Thank you both for speaking on our behalf. Very well. As I am sure you're aware, this permission was not extended lightly. Forbidden knowledge is to be treated with the utmost caution, and there will be repercussions if it is not. I wish you well in your endeavor, and bid you good day. Ever the same, that one. Uncompromising? Aye, but that very stoicism is exactly what Charlian needed to guide it through not one, but two exoduses. Cool. Alright, let's talk to Y'shtola. So that went rather well, I think. As a child, I dreamed up any number of schemes of getting my hands on those forbidden tomes. Now I can simply walk in through the door. Our focus will be on finding House Dome's research notes, of course. But the thought of so much knowledge at my disposal has me feeling a little giddy. Cool. The next quest is called Restricted Reading. So Monty Shang is waiting to offer you further instructions. You'll be headed directly to the archives from here, I presume. You presume correctly. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Then you want to speak with the index page when you arrive. It's been instructed to grant you access to the restricted section. Excellent. Once again, we thank you for all your help. It was my pleasure, believe me. May you find the knowledge you seek. Shall we? So Y'shtola is accompanying you again? Okay, so now we need to take Y'shtola to the library. So once we get there, we will continue. Okay, so we got to the library. Talk to Y'shtola. So to think that the set of instructions I laughingly imagine may actually exist, but yards away from where you found me napping. If I had known of Azadal III's exploits earlier, I could well have been saved myself days of research. Even a children's book might have pointed me in the right direction. To achieve the impossible, one must needs be flexible of mind and look beyond conventional wisdom. A lesson I had already learned, but clearly not taken to heart. Okay, so the index page is over there. I guess, is this the forbidden section? On your solar and guest identified, do you wish to proceed into the restricted archives? Follow me if you would, watch your step, and please note that the use of naked flames is discouraged. What about closed, like, frames? Is that okay? Reading. Blech. Books. Blech. Knowledge. Blech.
If House Damia's notes are to be found anywhere, it will be here. Let us begin.
Alright. So let's search Untitled Journal. I'll assume it's not this. Today, in a world of my own, I met the most beautiful void-burn creature. She was so unlike her ravenous brethren, eyes blazing with her hunger, but trembling like a candle's flame threatening to flicker out any moment. I wonder if she is even a proper word. Such distinctions seem inconsequential, insignificant even. All that matters is the love I feel for this exquisite, transcendent being. Though you attempted to read more, this does not seem like the volume you are seeking. Okay, let's go to the most, like, leather-bound log. A weighty tome. Let's see what this leather-bound log is about. So the following pages detail an advanced method for manipulating rift-spanning apertures as divided by Nushuhajant, the ninth patriarch of House Daemir. We present these research notes to the faculty of Charlie and study them as both a token of our friendship and an expression of our boundless admiration. You appear to have located the forbidden volume you seek. Your shoulder will need to make the final confirmation. Okay. I found it, 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 I found it. You have something you'd like to show me, do you? My apologies. I flipped open but a single book and was completely absorbed by its contents. Let's hand over this book. Hold on, Mithrie. I think you have found our prize.
Yes, the ether signature is unmistakable. I've felt the traces of House Daemir's resonance many times at the Great Work. Time to see what all the fuss was about.
Is there a chair?
Among the ranks of the Void Sent, there exist entities with the power to call forth their brethren from beyond. The species known as Atomos, however, is uniquely prodigious in this regard. From its distended maw, it can expel an endless procession of void-born creatures. A talent which sorely tested the Radiant Host in its battles against these abominations.
Yep, you already took them on.
Surmising that the entity itself was acting as a void gate, we endeavored to capture a small specimen and subsequently examine its physiological structure. Our findings revealed that the Atomos had absorbed a planar fissure into its own flesh, which it could expand at will into a functioning gate. Upon further analysis, we identified an ethereal wave pattern emitted during this process. A pattern we were able to emulate by passing crystal-stored ether through a specially designed prism. We proceeded to embed said prism into an arcane simulacrum, thus completing what we have dubbed our artificial Atomos.
Cool.
How could I have been so blind to the possibilities? This species, not to mention its ability to summon Void Scent, has been discussed among academics for years now. Just before the advent of the 7th Umbral Calamity, we received reports of Atomos sightings from every corner of Eorzea. Surely you've at least heard the tales. And still, House Daemir went and built a mock Atomos of their very own. I'm not surprised the Archons consigned their work to a restricted archive. It was no easy task, but at last we've unearthed the volume we've been searching for. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tempted to stay longer. See what other forbidden titles might be lurking on these shelves? Ah, but that would be abusing the very special privilege we've been granted now, wouldn't it? Better not.
Interesting. Add it to my archive. Okay, let's talk to Ishtola. So, as much as I would love to start crafting the Atomos, I'm afraid that this is far outside my field of expertise. Fortunately, no Hanish alchemist who would be delighted to involve herself in our House Demir project. Our business here is concluded for the moment. Please pass on our regards to the forum. Your message will be conveyed. Should you wish to indulge in more forbidden literature, I will be here. Patron mode disabled. Security mode engaged. If anyone could help us, Nidhana can. I say we return to Favnir and look for her at the Great Work. Okay, can we teleport straight to her? We can. Let's go. The Nidhana. Your Tola tells me that you are pursuing a most fascinating study, and that you want me to be a part of it. I have no doubt that you'll be interested. This research log should speak for itself. Will it now? By the sisters, this is the mark of House Demir. I never even knew such a work existed. You should. It was sequestered in Noinon's restricted archives, after all. It was, but that means every word within is forbidden knowledge. A forbidden tome filled with forbidden research, and you put it right into my unsuspecting hand? I can hardly wait to read it. To think that Demir were developing such marvelous techniques so long ago. How many innovations have been lost over the centuries, I wonder. Now that you've glanced over the notes, what say you to helping us build a new mock Atomos? I say yes, 1,000 times yes. Work on a Demir project that had even the redoubtable scholars of Charlian trembling in their sandals. No alchemist of the Great Work could resist. You're a woman after my own heart. I suppose I should ask, well, what do you mean to do with this big-mouthed Soliricrum once we built it? So there's a secret void gate, and it's sealed in the ruins on the bottom of the bounty. Today is a day of revelations indeed. If the purpose of our man-made Atomos is to expand this hidden portal, then I will need to see it for myself, I think. Manipulating rift-spanning apertures is not the sort of thing you want to attempt without first taking into account every single factor. That by all means, somebody else to the vault. I plan to lead us back there shortly once we've finished gathering the components I require. Charlie and Marcus provided the raw aquamarine and pure water crystals, but I might need help obtaining a small quantity of astrally infused water. For such a liquid, you need to go no further than the Font of Maya. The aesthetics of old once favored the place for their meditations, and the water which pools there now is known to enliven the flow of Aether. I have to read that very carefully. Well, that sounds perfect. If you would be so kind as to fill a flask of the pool, I will petition Vitra to join us. The idea I have in mind won't amount to much without his authority to command the Void Gate. Shall we be about it then? We meet back here and on. Okay. So, let's go. Okay, so we got to the pool. Okay, so we got the astral aspected water. Let's take it back to Y'shtola. So do you have that flask for me? There you go. Yes, this should suffice. Thank you, Mithrie. Cool, that's complete. And the next quest is called Void Theory. Y'shtola is eager to depart for the vault. Look who I came across. Destiny seemed in need of diversion, and we, in turn, may need of his lance. Right then. Now that our little party is assembled, let us make our way to the ruins. Will we have need of Matsuya's boat again? Not this time. Once Y'shtola informed me of our destination, I arranged for a vessel to be made ready at Akyali, sorry. Your Excellency is ever gracious host, shall we? Alright. Let's go. Okay, so we got to the engineer. Let's talk to him. Mithrie, what brings you to the Ironworks? We have a commission for you and your president, actually, assuming that he's available. As to Sid, certainly. I'll see if he has a moment free. A pleasure as always. I hear you have a job for us? I'm heading into the void to find a lost dragon. That sounds almost pedestrian, compared to your last adventure. Honestly, I don't know if you could say anything that would surprise me after Mitoyan and that bloody mess. Alright, let's take a look at this talisman of yours. You said that there were signs of degradation? It seems that some manner of corrosion has set in around a scratch on its surface, much as the void's corruption seeped into Nero through his wounds. In which case, our best bet may be to simply prevent the scale from being damaged in the first place. And how might we achieve that? We have a coating agent for strengthening trinkets and the like, but I'd be wary of applying any compound which might upset the scale's delicate alchemical balance. Far safer to dress it in armor. We'll construct a protective casing, one utilizing metal alloys with high ethereal conductivity, so as to not impede the talisman's primary function. A suit of armor, as you said. Nero has compiled data on the 13th, so I'll have him pitch in with the design just to be sure. If only it weren't such an ordeal to convince him to follow our safety protocols. I swear, I've never had such a reckless employee. In any case, we may need some time to untangle the particulars. Understandable. We know how busy your schedule is, and the final result will doubtless be worth the wait. The hard part will be ducking Jessie and her construct barrage of demands while we sneak about doing the fun stuff. We'll see what we can do. So I think we can leave the rest in Cid's capable hands. Let's return to the great work and see how Nitana's getting on with the Mock Atomus. Okay, so let's teleport back to the great work. Okay, should be good.
Hey, Stola. The adjustments are going well, I hope?
'Tis a lengthy process, but the end is in sight, yes.
That's wonderful news. I myself had some good fortune searching through the Satrap's private records. What I found was a transaction log dated around the same period as when Al-Zadal's legacy was built. It included a purchase list of highly exclusive alchemical components. And I knew I'd discovered the key to making the artificial atomos. I then visited the High Crucible to commission the materials. After I'd explained my requirements, I was beset by volunteers insisting I allow them to help with the entire project.
The usual reaction to someone forcing open a void gate is to run for the hills. Harnish academics certainly are a different breed.
The alchemists of old were cut from a similar cloth. The unknown held no fear for them. Indeed, they were ever eager to seek new knowledge, regardless of the danger.
And were you not also fearless, heedless even, in your determination?
My sire entered his dormancy before I was hatched. And so it was Ashdaya who kept my eggs safe and warm. It created a bond between us. Even long after I learned to fend for myself, I rarely strayed from her side. She was my guardian, my sister, my dear companion. And not a single day passes that I do not mourn her absence. No matter how deep the darkness, I would not surrender my search. I promised myself the time would come when we would once more take to the skies together. But I am Satrap now.
The Radiant Host is here to serve, Your Excellency.
Nabdeen, what is this about?
Celestinian told us of your predicament. For centuries you have protected Rads at Han, never showing your true self, hiding behind a curtain and living only in service to the people. Your dedication meant more to us than your deceit, and so did we accept you as our rightful ruler. After all that you have sacrificed for this nation, did you imagine we would begrudge you your heart's desire? We survived the final days. We are a strong and proud people. We, the Radiant Host, will keep Thavnair safe in your absence.
I am grateful for your loyalty and for your encouragement. And yet...
Now you listen to me, Varshan.
Sure.
You are wearing that face, after all. As I have told you before, you are a little brother to us all. And if you are family, then so too is your sister. We are there for you if you need us. But do not ask us to sit by and watch while you abandon a sibling you have ached to rescue for millennia.
We will succeed in opening the way. It is only a matter of time. All you need do is prepare to step through to the other side.
Your Excellency, I wanted to thank you for building the orphanage. It means so much that my sister and I will have a place to be together, safe and happy. And I hope that you and your sister can be together again too.
To protect them well, you must take heart. Will you wallow in an uncertainty forever? I read that right.
Take heart and protect them well. Such were the words I once said to you. And here I stand, failing to live up to them. If my heart is torn, I am fit to protect neither Ajdaya nor Radzatan. My people, I have come to a decision. Vashan will depart Thavne for a time. My dragon self will remain in the palace, but only to conduct the Satrap's most essential duties. While I am focused on controlling this vessel, there may be matters that escape my attention. I rely on you, my trusted friends, to watch over one another until I return.
Take care and fair fortune, little brother. Many tears would be shed should you come to harm.
I would not dare make you cry.
Cool. Alright, let's talk to Y'shtola. So, you surprised me, Estinian. For a lone wolf, you've shown an unusual degree of, shall we say, involvement in helping Vita reach this conclusion. As for the greater good, the worm's thundering sighs were keeping its citizens awake at night, and had travellers believing the palace racked by some unnatural storm. What of your own answer, then? You seemed disinclined to venture into the void. When I was one with Nidhogg, his vengeful thoughts were my thoughts, his endless rage my rage, and the soul-chilling grief he nursed for Ratasoka's death. I would not wish such agony upon a foe, let alone a friend and ally. If there is a chance that we can spare Vitra that pain, then I will follow you. Aren't you, we have any other form of scions we should call on? I'd rather not bother our comrades with aught less than a dire threat to the star. We four should be sufficient for our purpose. Now, on to the specifics. Unlike the first, where the Flood of Light was halted before its devastation was complete, the 13th has been utterly subsumed by darkness. My plan as such is to explore the void in stages, withdrawing to safety after each brief foray. It would be more convenient having some manner of base camp nearer to the gate itself. Oh, the palace chambers should serve. Come, let us reconvene outside the Megadua. Alright. So, let's catch up with them. Okay, so we caught up with them. So let's talk to the veteran Radiant. So the ship is yours to command. Oh, thanks. We set sail at once. Oh, this is so exciting. Azadal's legacy? To see the truth of a legend with my own eyes. All aboard for the treasure vault. And let's go. Okay. So let's talk to Nidhana.
The ruins alone were impressive enough, but I never dreamed such a treasure lay hidden in the depths of the bounty. It may have been helpful to know this device existed, Your Excellency.
My apologies. The gate was a secret I shared with none but my closest advisors. I feared for what might happen should those with ill intentions learn of its existence.
What is it you're doing now?
There's something I wish to verify. The NOAA reports claim that a short stint into the void carries little risk of etheric imbalance. Should one suffer an injury, however, or if one's expedition drags on longer than intended, that risk becomes significantly greater. Graha theorized that a warding scale would confer protection from the void's corrupting influence. But I would prefer to test that hypothesis before we set foot in the 13th ourselves.
So, this is an experiment of sorts?
Yes, an experiment. Tell me, how would you go about testing the efficacy of the warding scale?
Might as well go myself. Say nothing and look meaningfully at Istinian. Maybe send a familiar?
Very good. I see you've been paying attention. As Vritra sent his simulacrum, so too shall we rely on a familiar to bear the brunt of any unpleasant consequences. Now, a lowly imp can navigate a fissure, no matter how narrow. Which means an arcane entity of similar stature should be able to manage the same. I hadn't wanted it to come to this, but no other familiars will do, I'm afraid.
I mislike the sound of that. What manner of fiend does she mean to summon?
From ocean rise and cloudbank form, from mountain spring and rainfall storm, from river flow and life be born.
So,
Water, froth and foam!
the next expansion will just be called Y'shtola.
Ready your arms. I fear she's been possessed.
Oh, come now. That was adorable.
So,
Though not my first choice. These familiars I conceived of as a child have the best chance of fitting through the gate. I only wish my younger self had considered a more dignified ending to the creation ritual. In any case, these two should serve us well. This one will bear a warding scale. And when they return from the 13th, we can observe how the talisman, or absence thereof, has affected the progress of the Void's corruption. If I could impose upon you to open the gate, Your Excellency?
Ah, yes, of course.
We should also be wary of void scent slipping through while we conduct our experiment. Estinian, you are to keep Nidana safe from harm.
As you say.
You had best be on your guard as well.
I always am. Froth and foam.
And we are glad for it. Let us begin, shall we? Nixies, into the void.
Interesting music. Okay. Well, let's just stand guard, see if anything evil pops up.
I think we've waited long enough. Nixies, return to my side.
Oh. One had to suffer then.
Thank you, little one. You did well.
Oh, the poor thing. Its essence has been irrevocably warped.
We're out of time. I must reseal the Void Gate.
They're coming through!
In the name of Alzadal III, I bar this door unto the Void.
Well, that was a sharp lesson in the dangers of void gates.
And what of our experiment? I'd say the results speak for themselves.
The unprotected Nixie has suffered extensive etheric corruption. As Nidana observed, it's well on its way to becoming a void scent. The one merged with the talisman, however, appears unaffected. I sense no changes to its equilibrium. Rest now, little ones.
Graha's theory was correct then.
So it would seem. But while our second familiar was untouched by void energies, the talisman itself shows signs of degradation. It was, of course, originally designed to shield the soul from primal tempering. It stands to reason that etheric corruption of a different sort would affect it differently. We may need to modify the warding scale's design to account for the 13th's uniquely unstable ether.
You've said much of the Void's instability, but my imagination fails me. What manner of place is this broken world?
Ah, my apologies. I forget that not all of us spend our days sequestered in dusty archives. The 13th is a reflection of the source that was drowned in a flood of darkness. In Emmett Selk's own words, this tragedy was a result of the Ascians' attempts to force a rejoining. They erred in their haste, and made of that world a useless void. You remember Una Kalhai, the unusual child we met during our troubles with the Warring Triad. He explained the fate of the 13th thus. The champions of that ill-fated world used the stone known as Auracite to contain the power of primals. But those self-same heroes were gradually corrupted by the Auracite's bleeding energies, transforming into fiends with an endless hunger for ether. By the time anyone thought to oppose them, Light's strength had grown too feeble, and the balance of the 13th tipped into eternal darkness. And what of your own experience? Will you tell us of what you observed during Noah's expedition? I can picture it now. The sunless, Stygian expanse, infested with legions of ether-starved monstrosities. A void in every sense of the word.
What you have described in such lurid detail is exactly why I hesitate to encourage you.
Worry not, great Vritra. Our journey into the 13th is but the first leg of a longer voyage. A voyage that shall lead us to other reflections, to new mysteries and discoveries. And I mean to be there every step of the way. But first I must focus on refining the warding talisman.
Then I can begin work on constructing an artificial Atomos. Or I could if I had the relevant manuals to hand. Might I be so bold as to request access to the Satrap's family archives? Your Excellency?
Oh, yes. That can be arranged. I will speak to my officials upon our return.
We will see you back in the city then.
Know what he's thinking about. Okay, that's complete. Okay, so next quest is called A Satrap's Duty. Y'shtola ponders the next stage of your preparation to enter the void. So, once the hardest succeeds in replicating the Mark Atomus, this door into the 13th will be ours to open. Will you be crossing the threshold alongside us? I realize that this is more my endeavor than yours. To be honest, I've no interest in visiting the void myself. Might we discuss this later? There is something I must do first. Why does everyone insist on being so secretive? I at least had good reason for not wanting to explain my Nixie ritual. Shall we proceed with our preparations then? As we saw, the warding scale can be effective at protecting the bearer from other sources of etheric corruption. Nevertheless, the talent's durability will need to be improved if it is to withstand the void's influence for a prolonged length of time. And I think that is a problem we can address without involving the brilliant but busy alchemist who created it. Who do we know who excels at this kind of structural augmentation? The Allegons? Garland Ironworks? Allegons, maybe? Perhaps they once did, but availing ourselves of Allegan insights tends to be an evolved process in of itself. I believe a more straightforward approach is in order, consulting with the engineers of Garland Ironworks. As I recall, Sid himself is no stranger to the void and its volatile energies. With his experienced hand at the helm, I have every confidence that the Ironworks can strengthen the warding scale. Come, let us visit their operation at Raga's Reach and commission their best and brightest. Okay. Well, thankfully it took us straight there. So, let's find the junior engineer. Okay, so we made it back. Let's talk to him. And so you'll require suitable accommodations. Might we make something available for our guests? All the chambers are presently hosting the grey mounds of treasure we carried out of the vault. Once the Foundation's activities begin in earnest, however, we can distribute the trove and make a room or two ready for habitation. Good. Please inform me when you've completed the arrangements. So, as you heard, we will have you settled in Magaduta in due time. As ever, you are most gracious, Your Excellency. You risk yourselves to aid me in the search for Azdaja, providing comfortable quarters as is the least I can do. I only wish we knew more about our destination. The gods only know how long our explorations might possibly take, or what our chances of success might probably be. Succeed or fail, I am grateful for you for convincing me to make the attempt. On that note, I'll return to the great work and lend what help I can to Nidhana. If you preparations to make ere we venture into the 13th, now is the time. All I need is my armor and my lance. Perhaps I'll train with the Radiant Host to pass the time before we depart. You know what this means to me, Mithrie, but my purpose need not consume you as well. We are headed to another world. Find what joy you can in the experience, for you are a traveller and adventurer at heart, this I know. Cool. So let's complete. Meanwhile, in the 13th,
Thus I am returned. To this world, bereft of saviors.
yeah, maybe going to the 13th is not a good idea. Just saying. The pains unwalked, adventures spur, pulses quicken, and spirits stir. Nice. So we finished the story for 6.1. So anyway, guys, that's it for this episode. Thank you for watching, and as always, goodbye from me, and goodbye from Mithrie. Bye, guys.